She is going to get married in her late 30s. There is a significant life-changing event that occurs mid-40s, mid to late 40s, and she seems to be harboring shame or guilt of some kind. Good hello, my name is Pisces Palmist, and this week I'm looking at the hands of Jisoo from Blackpink, and I'm going to be uncovering the three things I've just mentioned and much more. Please give this video a like and a subscribe. Let's start by breaking down some of the things I see in her psychology. And this, I believe, stems from youth. Where we see psychology in the hands is certainly in the fingers. Each finger represents a pillar of our psychology, a pillar of our personality. And where I see shame and possibly guilt here is the kind of bending of the middle finger, Saturn at the tip here towards Apollo. Jupiter does it as well, and the two in conjunction with each other, when the two do this, it shows potentially kind of mixed messages when young. It shows Jupiter doesn't do it too much, but Saturn does it a bit more. So we've got some criticism here, we've got some judgment, some maybe belittling or bullying when she was young, over criticism from those who were, her guardians, mentorship, teachers, parents, that sort of thing. It's not brutal, but it is there somewhat. There's a little bit of over-criticism, which has had an impact on her self-esteem to some degree. But the biggest thing here is kind of shame or guilt. There's something around the way she feels about what she's done in some way. This is a bit more prevalent on her left hand. This is all about the internal thoughts, feelings, aspirations, fears, insecurities. That's what the left hand reveals. So that's what this is showing, and this is a bit more impactive internally anyway. Now, the clues as to where and why originates on her hand, and you can actually see this from, and it's very faint here, but I will back this up with another image. Her heart line, as it branches up between Jupiter and Saturn, showing a good, strong equilibrium in her moral compass. She's got a good sense of right and wrong. It's balanced. We also see a line that branches away from this into, creating some sort of sense of idealism. But as it does, as it branches over to the center of Jupiter, very balanced, again, a very balanced sense of idealism, we see it kind of reaching down and crashing into the headliner now, and the lifeline, where the head and the lifeline are joined as one before she claims independence in her life at a time when she's very young. And what this is showing is the heart, the emotions are asking the mind and the environment for support at a time where she has experienced some trauma. This is very early on in life. This is maybe even, very early on in life, and it's sort of disappointment, it's hurt, it's upheaval, it is, maybe some environmental or physical trauma. And it's a time where, it's affected her psychology. They say, the kind of trauma we go through at this age, we carry with us through our entire lives, and it's shaped her psychology to a degree where it's affected her self-esteem, and it's also created some feeling of shame or guilt in some way. Now, as I mentioned, it is very faint in this image. This one here, we have probably the best in this reading. But check this one out. This one here, it's not very clear, but what it does do is because she's cupping her hand, we can see the heart line formation, we can see the fork, we can see the secondary branch here reaching over as it does onto Jupiter and crashing down into the life and heart line, which we can see a little bit more clearly here. So we've kind of got this corroboratory evidence. There's early life trauma here, and it shapes the way she thinks and feels about herself. And it's really unfortunate that she's feeling these feelings, I know, of shame or guilt, or, something that she's done or been through that she feels bad about, essentially. And I feel she's obviously too young to really, to really be feeling shame or guilt. The good news is that later on, and this isn't all that much later, we're talking about sort of 10 or so, there's a tremendous effort and achievement here towards her career. And this is really, and you can see where it's heading. It's heading in the place of Apollo, creativity, artistic expression. Her talents are really developed at this time, and it's massively boosted her ability to achieve and succeed in life. The thumb is high set, and what I mean by that is it kind of, emerges from the hand really high up on the hand itself, and it gives this appearance that the head and the lifeline aren't that high on the hand, but they are. You know, when you look at it closely, it actually emerges from beneath the Jupiter mount. So the thumb, the head, and the lifeline are all very high set on the palm. They all emerge very high on the palm, and this creates someone who is tremendously ambitious. She is very independent. She's very hardworking. You can get a slightly greater sense for the emergence of the head and the lifeline here and just how far up on the hand it is. And it might seem subtle, it might seem minor, but this is quite big. This is a very ambitious person. What I do see about the fingers as well is that she is remarkably sharp-tongued. She's very quick of wit and can respond very quickly in conversation. The Mercury finger is very long, it's very pointed. She's very articulate. She's highly expressive when it comes to, verbal communication. She's very, very gifted in that respect. Generally, always seen on the hands of people who have writing ability, poetic ability, writing lyrics, as well as actually just being able to rap. She may well have that ability. And notice how the rest of the fingers, they're very well developed. And this is showing spiritual or even religious connotations, not connotation, but it represents someone who's very involved in exploring the deeper meanings to life. It's just a shame that we see this, and we see it on massive achievers, that kind of reduced feeling of the self, and this is probably why she's such a great achiever. It's a really common theme in people who are so successful. They have reduced feelings of self-worth, and this is, they're compensating for these reduced feelings of self-esteem by that need to achieve and succeed and just keep driving and working harder and achieve that next goal. Now, success and achieving her ambitions, her many ambitions, are absolutely on the top of her priority list, but she's also big into um, securing wealth for security reasons. She's strong, priorities are also traditional values, home, um, family. In this image tries to represent itself as something as squarish, but it's not. And in truth, it's more of a triangle as it kind of fans out and upwards, increasing emotional and mental capacity. Um, in other words, she feels very strongly. She thinks there's a lot of activity that's going on that is very strong in terms of her heart and her mind. Her body is not as strong as these two in this respect. She isn't physically strong, and her constitution and vitality aren't as strong, if that makes sense. Those aren't her strengths. What her strengths lie in her ability to think and feel, and how she combines the two, how she utilizes both mind and heart to, project that back out into the world and inspire us. Her thumb being so high set gives this appearance that it's long, but it's not actually all that long. It's just very high set. She's very much thinking about herself and self gain. And that's not to say that she's selfish by any means, because I don't believe that's the case. But she is quite self concerned, quite self absorbed. She's just extremely ambitious. Now, the age at which I believe she will get married is seen just here. Her relationship lines, this one in particular, represents a strong potential for marriage. And I believe this is at the age of 39. I believe there's going to be some travel at this time as well, so she may well meet her future husband abroad. The time this image was taken, there were certainly some issues around late October in her life. Now, it seems like there were two attempts, in fact, to claim her independence, to flee the nest. The first was at quite a young age of maybe even 16, 17, and then it really occurred for her at 18, truly. And if you notice really carefully here, on the lifeline, I would say about the age of 22, perhaps, you can see this line here that branches away, rises up next to the fate line, and it's pointing towards Saturn, the place of duty, purpose, societal contribution, her career. It's essentially really significantly enhanced at this time. This is a tremendous advancement in life and achievement. It's absolutely bursting with success at this time, and it's absolutely career based. And actually, her career line or her fate line, duty line, luck line, whatever you want to call it, the vertical line that travels up the hand generally towards the area of the Saturn mount, it's not really all that strong until around the age I've just mentioned, until around 22. That's when we really see it kind of starting coming into effect here. It's very faint, and admittedly, the image isn't great. It's the best I've got, and we can see it coming. It kind of seems to want to emerge out of what looks like a very faint Mercury line. I see a health line here as well, very faint again. And so this is telling me that her instincts, this kind of significant boost we see, this advancement in her career, had her instincts had a big role to play in that. It's almost as though she saw an opportunity and just went with her gut. Now, notice this, and this is quite subtle. This right here, this angle is this known as the angle of pitch, and it's seen on those who have excellent, superb singing ability. You almost always see it with a secondary angle of sometimes known as the angle of time or proficiency on the back of the thumb here, and this is always seen with people who have tremendous sense of rhythm. Now, notice how the arching of the wrist line here, this signifies I'm not actually sure I want to say this. No, I think it's a bit too personal. I think I'm not going to go there. If this was a live palm reading or for a client, a personal, private, confidential palm reading for a client, I would point this out, but I would point it out with a solution in mind because, you know, potentially we should always be working towards positive outcomes. And I feel sometimes these palm readings can get really personal, especially when I'm reading for someone who hasn't essentially provided me consent. I'm just trying to provide entertainment. I'm just weighing things up proportionally in my mind here. I'm not going to disclose all that I see in the hands of celebrities. Now, there is a significant life-changing event that occurs. We can see here on her lifeline, I would say it's probably about the age of 45, maybe 45 to 47, something like this. There's a significant life-changing event here. My feeling here is that whatever happens is not going to be so much inside of her realms of control. She's not going to have much say over what happens here. She's just going to have to kind of adapt. Part of why I say that is because we see let's say, Pluto, not Pluto, sorry, Luna here has a part to play in this. It could be there's something that occurs while she's traveling. It could be something to do with escapism. This is a right answer. Something much more physical. There could be some sort of accident at this time. In any case, it looks to me as though from this time onwards, her life will change quite drastically, and she will potentially, if unless this line, significantly changes and we see some mending of this lifeline, there's going to be because it's not a break, it's an overlap. So there's no, major threat to her health. This is more a significant change in her way that she lives her life, her lifestyle. So she may well retract and retreat and become something of a hermit after this time, really isolating herself from the public eye. So maybe she kind of steps away from fame at this time for whatever reason. It's either that or it's some sort of accident that's outside of her control. Time will tell. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you liked this palm reading, smash that like button. It helps the algorithm, please. I need all the help I can get. Thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe, bring all your friends, and I'll see you next Sunday when I'll be reading the hands of, I had to Google it, Jenny Kim, the final member of Blackpink. Thank you all so much for watching. See you next time.